what you are.
That is my
husband.
You one thing.
You're
I don't give a about that, bitch. You're second best. He followed me to the Dominican Republic, and you know that hoe. He proposed to me first. He wanted to be with me. He wanted to marry me, and I left.
Let's see if he's with you now.
I left.
Why are you still arguing about your baby daddy?
You're second best.
Who do you want to
When I see you in the street, shut it out. Oh, bitch, right the fuck in, bitch. No. You know I don't like you, bitch.
Oh, is it a fight?
Girl, what? Who I got to do?
Let me out. You ain't gonna do
I ain't paid by insurance
I will
yet.
slap the out you. Rasheed, I'ma be.
The typical summer heat of Atlanta was joined by a pervasiveness of deception that was far more dangerous than the heat in the opulent house Lil Scrappy and Bambi had constructed together. Everything they had fought for and worked so hard to achieve may be destroyed by the betrayal, reducing love to ashes. Bambi sat in their living room, her heart pounding and her phone ringing on the coffee table. Her lawyer had just informed her of a horrible storm she had never anticipated. Weeks of anxiety were brought on by small issues that had fallen between the cracks. Mysterious transactions, strange bank withdrawals, and now the truth was unquestionable. She never thought the person who had misplaced the money would betray her. She took up her phone with trembling hands and checked the message from her attorney, Erica Dixon, again. The name was like an open sore burning in her chest. Bambi had always believed that she could trust a distant cousin, but the one person she could trust was Scrappy's ex-lover, Erica, who had shared his past, lived in the background, and was someone she would always remember. Betrayal eventually led to Erica, but she believed the $3 million had been stolen and was passing through a number of more complicated accounts. Bambi felt a knot in her stomach tighten as she knew she had to tell Scrappy what she needed to do in the heart of their house, where they had shared tears, laughter, and dreams. She knew that he would destroy everything. But what could she do? Bambi waited in silence for the encounter, knowing it couldn't go well, even though Scrappy had been working late to finish a number of music projects that had kept him busy for days. When he finally entered the room, tired eyes looked around, and Bambi stood up, her hands trembling and her cheeks freezing. "We need," Scrappy heard her remark. He scowled as he placed his luggage at the door to speak. "You seem to have seen a ghost," he muttered. "What's going on?" Bambi didn't know where to begin. Even though the words made her stomach turn, she had herself swallow before telling the truth. How would you inform the man you love about $1 million theft? She was shaking with incredulity and rage. Erica stole the money from me. In relation to what? How did she manage to do that? Scrappy froze, his entire body going rigid. Bambi's voice cracked as she raised her phone. "I have evidence that the funny accounts were wire moved. She accomplished it, and the entire thing is there." She snatched the $3 relentlessly. Scrappy's face became white as he realized what she was saying, and his jaw tightened as he refused to accept it. In the room, the silence was deafening. The idea that his child's mother, Erica, would do something of this kind was shocking, even though she had always been involved in their lives. "Do you have a clear idea of how things could go wrong?" "I'm listening, Erica." Scrappy paced back and forth while running a hand through his hair. In response, Bambi said coldly, "I wouldn't be telling you this if I wasn't certain that Erica took your money." "Scrappy, the money's gone," she said. "I can only conclude that she is the one who stole." For my own self, as Scrappy ceased pacing, a glimmer of light shone in his gloomy eyes. As he realized he was unsure of whom to believe, Primal made him feel hurt, angry, and incredulous, all of which combined to increase the tension between them. He was being accused of something he had never done before by his ex-wife, who had given birth to his children. But what if it were true? As Scrappy murmured, running his hands through his hair once again, his voice broke under the strain of everything that was pulling him apart. What on earth caused this to occur? His voice carried too much sorrow for Bambi to handle. Scrappy trusted Erica as a member of their grand family, even after they had a falling out. Their arguments, and there was no turning back now that the truth was out. I had to assume that Scrappy's shout was as loud as stones as he turned to face the door while clutching his hands. I require room. On a bright summer evening in Atlanta, amid the neon lights and the typical NTI, a house away from the lights and glitz was awash with dread, wrath, and feelings of betrayal. With a lovely marriage to Lil Scrappy, a thriving family, and a lucrative job, Bambi had always been the epitome of grace and composure. However, everything changed when the bombshell was dropped. Bambi disclosed that $3 had been stolen by Erica Dixon, her husband's ex-wife. Bambi had returned from a work trip on a calm Thursday morning, her suitcase still at the door. She was looking through her emails when she noticed an unexpected wire transfer that had not come from any of her usual partners. She was horrified to discover that more than $3 million had been taken out of her account after confusedly reviewing the data. She was keen to know why the deal didn't make sense, even though she trusted her financial counselor. After Bambi called her lawyer, who looked into her story in great detail, the truth finally came out a few days later. The money was no longer worth as much. Flowed through a number of shell companies, all of which ultimately brought them back to Erica Dixon, the individual who had once been a part of their lives, but whose shadow seemed to linger much longer than Bambi had anticipated. Bambi was furious that Erica had deceived her and that her self-assurance had been so readily misplaced. Even more agonizing than the money was the sense of being violated. Erica had always been a distant part of the past in her thoughts, but all of a sudden the past had come back to haunt her, and she could no longer stand it. As she dialed Lil Scrappy, her spouse of almost 5 years, her hands trembled. It took him a few rings to answer, but when he did, Bambi felt his voice pressing harder against her chest. Even though Scrappy's voice stayed steady, Bambi could tell that something had changed. He was clearly expecting something negative. "We need to talk," she added, her voice tight with shock and incredulity at what had transpired. "Baby, the $3 million was stolen by Erica." When Bambi recognized what she was saying, she could practically hear his heartbeat over the phone. "Erica, how could that have happened?" Scrappy staggered, his head obviously whirling from the charge. "I am being honest, Scrappy. Here, everything is all right in black and white." Proof when Bambi, trembling with a mixture of despair and rage, snapped her voice. Scrappy was experiencing a wave of emotions he couldn't comprehend. Erica, the mother of his kid, had always caused problems in his marriage to Bambi, but he never imagined that she would steal so much from his wife. He had always tried to keep them all in harmony, but this was too much for his racing brain to handle. With his fists clenched, he walked out of the home, knowing deep down that there was more going on here than he could have ever imagined. He was prepared to confront Erica and demand answers. The man who had previously attempted to maintain a cordial relationship between his wife and his ex-partner was now being compelled to must choose a side in a treachery that could destroy everyone. With his anger erupting, Scrappy drove up to Erica's house, but before he could knock, the door sprang open and Erica was standing in front of him, composed as though she had anticipated this moment. Scrappy's voice was amazing, but he was annoyed by a hint of resentment and arrogance. "Why had you come here?" No time was wasted politely conversing with Scrappy. "I am aware that you stole Bambi's money, Erica. Could you do anything to her? You think I took it? That's funny because I didn't take anything that wasn't mine." Erica arched an eyebrow with a smug expression on her lips. "First of all, it's adorable that you believe you can keep her safe. Scrappy, you don't know what you're doing, Erica. It's wrong. But I won't let you hurt my wife. You'll be responsible. I advise you to find out who is in control, Scrappy." That just made Erica laugh. She closed the door in his face, and he stood there more confused and angry than ever at home. Bambi sat on the couch, her mind racing, unsure of what to do as she saw the love of her life fall apart right in front of her. In addition to the $3 million, there was also betrayal and wickedness behind well-known faces. The woman who had once been her worst enemy was now her most deadly. A few hours later, Lil Scrappy came home with a puzzled and irritated expression on his face. Because the battle lines had been established and nobody knew how things would turn out in the end, he was certain that their lives would never be the same again, even though his questions had not been answered. In the hallway, Bambi and Scrappy turned to face one another, their silence now heavy. Erica grinned, but none of them understood how to fix it. Taught them that your toughest enemies might occasionally turn out to be your greatest buddies. As the plot progressed, it became evident that this was more than just a financial scam. Rather, it was the struggle between love and loyalty, and the brutal fact that people you love might occasionally turn on you in unexpected ways.